Hey, thank you for the lesson.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to learn better from that now, not to do that in the future. Just like when you're doing business or anything, you learn faster by screwing up.
Welcome to the Resilient Gentleman Podcast with your hosts, Douglas Berger and Christopher Payton. This show is all about forging unbreakable men on a path to greatness. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Gentleman with Douglas Berger and myself, Chris Payton. I've got my emotional support pillow ready for this conversation. We're on the weekend of Father's Day, and Douglas suggests we talk about what our fathers did right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What did Dad do right in your life?
So, I mean, two top things that are very easy to recall is being present.
Okay.
My dad was always there,
Nice.
there. And then the other thing is learning by example.
Okay.
So a lot of my work ethic today, I got from my dad. Like, for example, I wash my cars every single week.
Yeah.
And that's something I did with him. I mean, he forced me to do it. He would get home from work and like, go wash my car. I'm like 10, 11, 12 years old or something.
Wow.
And cutting the grass and all that. I took care of all that stuff, and I learned that basically from him, and that's carried on. And I actually enjoy doing those things now. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You were in sports, you were an athlete,
Right.
Through
Yep.
high school, junior high, all that stuff. Was he at all the games, all that stuff? Or?
My parents, and I'm speaking specifically of my dad. Yeah. I mean, they were at every single game. So my dad was a traveling salesperson in the DC area.
Okay.
So he was outbound. So he had some flexibility with his schedule, especially after he had been there for a long time. He can control that. So if he needed to get off early, if he needed to take a day off or something. So that was one of the things, was he was always either taking us to practices, going to the games, just being present for whatever we needed. If we ever needed to go to the doctor or picked up from school or something, they were always present.
That's awesome.
Which is very reassuring, and you can see the benefits I had of having both my parents, and they're actually still around.
Yeah.
That a lot of other people don't necessarily have those comforts.
Sure.
And
so obviously his career had an impact on his flexibility and his ability to be there. You are also a father.
Yep.
And
today's my daughter's 27th birthday.
Ooh,
happy birthday, baby girl. My son just turned 30 last week.
Today, as in we're recording today.
Yeah.
When we drop this episode, it'll be, yeah. All right. Well, but that being said, all right, you were in the car business, you were in the power sports. I think I brought your scorecard. You had what, 12 businesses, 13?
Off my back. Yes.
13 businesses. And so were you able to be present for
yes,
your kids' stuff?
Right. And that was something that carried through definitely to me. I was always there for my kids.
Okay.
I was there for, I wouldn't say every single event or whatever, because there was a lot. Raising three, my two biological kids, and then from my first marriage had a stepson. So yeah, we were busy with the three kids, and we were at 99% of them. And then yes, the flexibility comes in. Now when I was in the car business or retail, more direct employment, it was a little bit harder to get away.
For sure.
But being self-employed gives you that flexibility.
Okay.
To be able to move when you want.
Now, so as a parent, as a father, are you thinking about your availability and your ability to be there because your dad was there? Or was that ever like a desire of yours, like, hey, I've got to be able to be present?
I don't think it was ever anything that really had to be conscious for me. It was just something that I did, that whether I got it from him just through, being raised by them, and that just naturally gravitated towards me becoming that way. But I've always been determined to be present and engaged with my family at every need. So,
That's awesome.
I mean, maybe some more people need a little bit more guidance with it, or being aware of it, or the lack thereof. But yeah, that was never anything I'd ever have to think about. I mean, the family always comes first, no matter what.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for that. I don't know that I was at everything that I wish I could have been for Lex. Like there was
Right.
definitely windows of time, especially early in my career, that I was, and heck, even now where I'm, just you got to weigh the, situation and determine what,
Correct.
is more. I hate to say like which is more important.
It's a balancing act, and yeah, actually there is. There's certain things that, like, say you have a huge project at work that you're coming up to a deadline and you've been working on it for months or years or something like that, and then your kid just has a regular season ball game.
Yeah.
Right? Is that something that you can probably miss? Sure. Right. But going back to what we talked before, if they broke their leg, guess what's going to happen? Everything stops and we're
that's
going
right.
to redirect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say I was perfect. By no means was I perfect at all. And there was plenty of things that I missed, but the grand majority of the time I was completely engaged.
Okay.
How about you? Like, what's the current status like with Lexi and sports and school and then juggling, work and
the last several years as she's gotten into volleyball, I tried to make every game I could.
Yeah.
Away games are tough and things like that, but having the business gave me a lot more flexibility to be able to be at games and go to camps and tournaments, away tournaments and things like that.
Yeah.
I think there's points in my career I wish I was less committed to my job, because I look back and go, did they really need me that day when I missed that? And I didn't really miss like the big events when she was dancing or doing
Right.
theater and stuff like that.
Right.
I always went to at least one of the recitals, but we were talking about the other day, Sabrina didn't work for, I say that, but I mean, it's a lot of work to be a stay-at-home mom, but
Yeah.
she didn't have a job she was going to from the time Lex was like 3-ish.
So she was the parent representative.
And, she was talking about this trip they went to Huntsville.
Right.
Just the other day, we were in the car and that came up. It was a topic of conversation. And, I thought to myself, like, I'm glad you were able to go to some of that stuff. Like, I don't even know that she, in my head, it didn't even exist, but it was like, wow, it's pretty cool. And had I not been there at work and focused on my career, could she have done that?
Right. See?
And so there's some, there's obviously
there's
balances
intangibles,
there,
and then you turn one knob,
but
something's going to adjust. Now,
for sure.
let me flip the script on you. What
Okay.
about your dad?
Yeah.
What are some of the top of the mind things that has been instilled in you
Work
from your
ethic.
father?
Yeah, my dad did not stop working. Worked his
Okay.
tail off. And, I think that that's something that I have, definitely taken. I don't know that I, at this point in my life, that I want to work as hard as he did.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying from a selfish perspective, but, I posted something this morning of like, the caption or whatever it's called auto cut when you do these things anyway, and it puts a song to it, and this little it sounded like a child was like, I have 2 rules. 1, have fun. The second rule, obey rule 1. And I'm like, in my life and in my career and in my family and all this stuff, I've always let things get to me.
Yeah.
I get annoyed with little things, or I get annoyed with time, or, if we're running late and all these things, right?
Short fuse.
Very short fuse. And I think that those things have limited my fun and my ability to have fun.
Absolutely.
And in certain situations, like, I could go back through several windows of time in my life where I'm like, man, you missed the fun of that event or that event
because you're distracted on something else.
Because I frustrated myself
Right.
with something that was useless.
I agree with that.
And
I mean,
unnecessary.
your attitude and the way you react and do things after something happens to you, it's a huge part. Like I used to have the shortest fuse, maybe not as short as yours, but maybe shorter.
Take it easy.
But But man, I've learned a lot just over the past 5-7 years of just kind of letting a lot of that stuff go. Just like we talked on one of the episodes, like someone cuts you off in the car, and they give you the finger. It's like, oh, hey, have a great day, buddy.
Yeah.
It's don't even let it bother you. Put water off, water off the duck's back, and you're just so much more free that way. They're not like in your mind, they don't have control of that crap. So
that's right.
So now you're going back to your dad's work ethic. What did he do? And what did his schedule look like?
Well, so I remember windows of time where I mean, he may have had 2 or 3 jobs, and just grinding. Who
does that?
He did. He had this window of time where, he owned a flower shop for years. And I think 2 or 3 throughout my life where it was like.
And those are retail
stores on your feet, 70 hours a week. Yep. And he's doing he was just a gifted artist, and so he was a musician, an artist, and, designed all these elaborate arrangements and all that stuff. And he was very good at that. But I don't know if you know much about the floral industry. It's not nothing. You're talking about something that dies in a matter of
your inventory turnover is quick.
And if you don't sell it, it's garbage, right? And so there's a lot of waste and a lot of labor involved in the business. And so anyhow, he worked so hard to make that business grow. Well, because it's not significantly profitable, it's like he's got to be more engaged, and he is the job. So he's there 24/7. So you hire another designer or another person, and what's the rule in business? Duplicate yourself, right? If you can duplicate yourself and become what did we talk about a few weeks ago? The absentee owner. He could never do that,
right?
And as much as some of these designers or florists or whatever, floral artists or whatever you want to call them, came in, none of them could even replicate the stuff he produced.
Right.
And so it was like, it's just a difficult business.
Yeah. I mean, that's a typical challenge for most business owners out there. It really is. Taking that next step is completely hard, whether it's ego driven for not to do it, or whether it's just the cost and effort it takes to make that next step when you're at that point, because expanding and scaling is difficult because you have to replicate the same quality with other people. And so it's imperative. It's difficult for sure.
Yeah. He had, I remember me and my brother going with him to, I think he did like this daycare and this office space where he cleaned it, obviously after it closed, it was clean.
Wow.
So he's working all day trying to build his business.
And then physical labor too.
To go, clean spaces and stuff. And so
did he miss like some big events with yours growing up because of that?
Maybe, I played ball, I played soccer and basketball. I don't remember him making a lot of soccer. I don't know why. Maybe he just didn't like it.
He didn't like soccer.
When I played basketball, and maybe it was more a commitment he made to himself, I don't know. But senior year, I felt like he was at most games.
Oh, good.
Most tournaments, he made himself available. And, if he had a big event or wedding or something like that, obviously those are challenges. And I understood, but those are like the, Saturdays in the car business are the same when you got weddings or parties that you got to do in the floral business, right? So, I mean, he was around for a lot of it, but I don't know that through high school my mom missed a game. I can't think of a time she missed. Maybe a long away game.
So we're pretty lucky. I don't remember my mom missing one either.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's, a lot of things I learned from him, certainly, and a lot of things that I learned from him that I, wouldn't repeat or wouldn't, I'm not going to drag out on our podcast at this point. I told you I wouldn't cry today. But
come on, we need ratings.
But, I mean, there are things that I wish, went differently. And, obviously those are things that we look back on and,
so what do we, what kind of message can we put out there for others that weren't so lucky as us?
So that's a thing. I mean, we talk about almost in every episode, the guys sit and listen to this, or the folks sit and listen to this, and hearing the two of us talk about, oh, both your dads were at all your events.
Yeah,
And,
both your parents were good.
It's like, yeah, great. I didn't have, my dad didn't, or my dad worked, or my dad was in the military, or my dad was, worked 75, 80 hours a week, and I don't remember my dad being around, you know? Those are scenarios that I don't know that either of us are qualified to speak to.
Good point.
And so I think those are difficult scenarios, and you got to determine like what is important to you, right?
Yeah.
And for your family and your kids, if you don't have kids yet, setting the standard before you have them of what you kind of parent you're going to be.
Yep.
And, life sometimes dictates how we're going to have to handle, finances and,
all of it.
Kids like to eat.
I don't know why.
Right.
Because they're growing.
So there's always financial requirements, playing ball. I don't remember it last year, but I have a $500 bill to play volleyball this year. I'm like, it's better be gold.
I could not imagine raising my kids now. It was expensive then.
Yeah.
And my youngest just turned 27.
Yeah.
And then, I have talked to people. Your daughter's younger, but then there's people with kids 5, 7, 12 years old, 3 kids at that age. And then just the changes in society and everything right now.
For sure.
That's scary. I think one thing we probably can talk about is what is the best way to kind of embrace and help guide your kids growing up would definitely being present. And then just like work or anything. If
that's an option.
Correct.
Can you be, so that creates a whole different conversation about what is present.
Right.
There's physical, and then there's actually involved.
So
in
that is the next step from present. Being present is being engaged. Right.
That's
just because you're there, it's great, but are you really engaged?
Sure.
And engageable, is that a word? Open door policy. That's more of a business term, but is it still the same with your kids? Do they feel comfortable being able to come up and talk to you? Right. And I think too, what a lot of parents are probably missing out to or being firm.
Sure.
I think there's definitely a lack of strictness as there used to be a long time ago. Now, I'm not saying people should beat their kids or anything like that too, but there's a lot of trial and error in life afterwards if the kids have been enabled for so long.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But I was going to disclaim no beating of children. I do not advocate of that. But here, so I think that every generation goes through this window of, and in their parenting where they're like, they want to take the good things. I want to be there because my parents were there for me, or I want to be there because my parents weren't there for me. Right. Or whatever it is.
What's the motivation?
Well, then there's also, and I see it with Sabrina and Lex, where they're like sort of too friendly, and I get like, wait a second, that's still your mother, and you don't talk to her that way,
right?
And so I think that there's a level of that where, Sabrina and her mom were very close. I think they would call themselves best friends. I don't know if that's the optimal scenario or not. I'm not best friends with my mom or dad,
nope,
and while we talk about a lot of things, it wasn't a scenario of like, that we had a relationship where I could disrespect them or talk down to them or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's hard too, because us being parents, we do want to give our kids everything, an opportunity. You want to give them an easier life or whatever, but there's tough little line in there when you're going overboard. Like, you can talk to people on two sides of the coin. One's like, because things are so expensive now, it's good for the kids to stay in the house for a few more years after college or whatever, let them build up some stuff before they pay. But then there's another side of the coin. When I was talking to a gentleman the other day, he's like, nope, I told my kids, by the time you're 17, you better be prepared to get out of the house. Because when you turn 18, you're gone. So whether it's school or get your own place, your own job or whatever, it's time for you to figure it out. I'm like, that's maybe borderline harsh, but hey, let's go.
Yeah. Well, so as we wrap this episode up and we talk about the folks listening to the show, what would be your encouragement the guy who feels like, hey, my dad wasn't there for me. I didn't, he wasn't, present in my life. He didn't make the sporting games, and the events and all that stuff. And like, what's your encouragement for them as we kind of bring this to a close?
You are still in control of your own destiny. So you can take those lessons, whether they're positive or negative. So, all right, this was positive. Let me embrace that. Let me put that into my life. Also, let me look at the negative. If I was a parent or am a parent, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So at least you're getting a lesson on both sides of it, but it's just like having your attitude, whether it's positive or negative, that's a choice. If you want to see the positive in something, you will. If you want to see the negative in something, you will.
Also will.
So that's where people have to keep their mind frame on the positive. Say, hey, thank you for the lesson.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to learn better from that now, not to do that in the future. Just like when you're doing business or anything, you learn faster by screwing up. Right. So take that lesson and convert it to a positive and then stay positive.
That's good.
And see how you can turn it into a positive, keep on going.
Love it.
Growth.
Great. Well, I'm Chris Payton. That's Douglas Berger. We are the Resilient Gentlemen. And we appreciate you hanging out.
Happy Father's Day to all you good dads
subscribe.
out there, and you ones that are not so good, get better.
Ooh. Like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, all the socials, the Resilient Gentlemen Podcast. We appreciate you hanging out.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Resilient Gentleman Podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and of course, please leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.